What's going on, all you constant listeners out there in the multiverse? This is Brianford16 coming to you with my take on Stephen Amell clarifying his statements on the anti-strike comments made in this past weekend's Galaxy Comic Con rally. To start things off, if you're new to this channel, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Brianford16, and you can of course follow the Daily Planet on Twitter and Instagram also, Daily Planet DC, for more updates and for more news. So we're going to get into this. So basically what happened was just that Stephen Amell, who's known for his role of playing Green Arrow, the Emerald Archer in Star City, in the show Arrow, made comments about the SAG-AFTRA Writers Guild strikes that have been going on since July 14th, and he basically quoted, and I quote, he said basically that I do not support striking. I do not. I think that is a reductive negotiating tactic, and I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating. Now, as I watched that, I saw this on a soundbite on Twitter, as I was just scrolling through looking for anything to kind of talk about, which I usually do for my podcast right now. And I found this, and I just wanted to give you my take on it. And when I watched the soundbite, I couldn't help but wonder why Amell, all right, an actor who portrayed a hero who has been progressive and a staunch crusader for social issues, not just a badass who, you know, does all these martial arts moves and these acrobatics. You know, because the character of Green Arrow, I mean, originally he was made as an analog to Batman, basically a Batman with a bow and arrow, but dressed as Robin Hood under Domino mask. But in the Bronze Age of comics in the 1970s, when Dick Dillon, comic creators Dick Dillon, the late Denny O'Neil, and Neil Adams got their hands on the Green Arrow, they revamped his costume and they revamped his character into this more progressive crusader, if not liberal. And Oliver Queen, like Bruce Wayne, was a rich man with a vast fortune, but in this comic, I think it was Justice League of America number 75. I mean, he goes through a lot. Kind of like an identity crisis, if you will. And what happens is that he sees a psychiatrist, and somehow, I think the story goes, is just somehow he gets himself split in two. A good version of Oliver and more like a aggressive, evil doppelganger. And towards the end of the comic, he basically beats his doppelganger, who is robbing a drugstore, and it starts off. It begins his actual. Actually, it begins a character change of him defending the little man, being a crusader, and being more of like, being a crusader for social justice, if you will, and bringing up like social ills such as racism, the environment, among other things. And Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil would actually have this famous comic issue called Green Lantern / Green Arrow, and it would sort of like talk about that. It would actually talk about those social issues with Green Arrow educating not only Green Lantern but us the readers about these social issues. And I feel like it was sort of like CNN's Crossfire and Fox News Hannity and Holmes and Crystal Ball's and Sagar and Genti's Breaking Points, but in comic form. So I feel like almost I almost want to say that in a sense that Green Lantern, Green Arrow was a precursor to those shows. Funny enough, but in comic book form. I mean, I'm just saying, okay. But anyway, going back to the character of Green Arrow, he was just this progressive. He was this progressive fighter, not just a vigilante who believed in social rights and all that, and social issues. Whereas with ML, I feel like, and going back to the soundbite of what he said, I mean, first of all, you're entitled to your own opinion, no question about it. It's our First Amendment, but so is striking too. Striking is our First Amendment right, and when he said those words in that at that panel at that convention. To me, I felt like honestly, he almost looked like Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, in my opinion. And, basically I feel like the actors would tell him that he failed the SAG-AFTRA union, like, you failed this city, like his most iconic line. But Julie Benson pretty much beat everyone to that because she said you failed this union. And, he claimed to stand with the union, though. But if you do stand with the union, why would you say something like that? And as you can see on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, he did clarify his apology and all that. He did create a, excuse me, he set up an apology. He clarified his statements, you know, but at the same time, the deal is done, man. Like you said what you said, and I think everyone's. Here's the thing: everyone is entitled to. Everyone deserves redemption. I'm pretty sure that. All of us once in a while put our foots in our mouths and whatever. But at the same time, and this is to Stephen Amell. It's like you're famous. You're famous, dude. You played a superhero who. You're playing a superhero, and then not only that, but a superhero who in history was a progressive crusader. Now, I don't know if you ever read the comics actually though, but and I didn't read that much Green Arrow, I'll confess so, but I read enough to know that he's sort of like a social issue, he's a guy who addresses social issues and tries to educate everyone in the Justice League, especially Green Lantern, who's seemingly staunchly conservative or just staunchly conservative or legalistic about stuff, about these social issues. And it kind of reminds me of when I was watching that soundbite, I thought of like working actors, okay, who have to work regular 9 to 5 jobs, who have to work these gigs in order to stay afloat while they're honing their craft. And one actress that does come to mind is Renee Felice Smith, who played Nell Jones in NCIS Los Angeles for 11 seasons. 11 seasons. And you would think that she'd be getting royalties from all that, though. But lo and behold, she's struggling too. And she's striking along with her fellow actors and actresses. And she said this, and it was in a YouTube channel called A More Perfect Union. I recommend that you constant listeners go watch that. It's a pretty good documentary channel. They talk a whole lot about social issues, such as the SAG-AFTRA Writers Guild strikes, and among other things, even the UPS strike too. But so going back to Smith, she said this in a quote: "What was the work for? My labor lines the pockets of these executives, and to what benefit in return, right? Okay, they're still profiting off my performance, and I can't even go to a general practitioner for a sore throat, or if I have a sore throat." And in that video, there was a soundbite they released, and they also released it on TikTok too. Again, A More Perfect Union. And she talked about how SAG-AFTRA sent her a letter saying that she was no longer qualified for health insurance. You know how devastating that would be, especially if just imagine if you had a pre-existing condition or a loved one, for instance, that you're looking after, and then to be told one day that you don't have health insurance. That is devastating. All right. And I feel like with Stephen Amell, it's like, did you really think before you're gonna, did you really think about this before? Maybe it was like it was in the, he was in the moment, but I kind of wonder if he really thought about what he was gonna say, because there's a reason why these people are striking. Okay, it's not just for higher wages; it's to earn scratch that. It's not just for a fair wage; it's for a fair way of living too. Because actors are human; they're not robots, and some of them have a litany of issues that they have to deal with in order to continue the lives that they live. Mental health issues, like I mentioned before, pre-existing conditions. Just like you and me, they're human. And I think that's one of the things about the strike that is making us realize that no, it's not so glamorous in Tinseltown or Hollywood, or the actor's life is not the sexiest life. It's a fun life, don't get me wrong, but it requires a lot of work and a lot of hustling. And I don't know if Stephen Amell forgot about that. Because once upon a time he was a struggling actor. He mentioned it I think he mentioned it in a podcast, Inside EV with Michael Rosenbaum, if I'm not mistaken. He talked about that. So he of all people should know. And okay, yeah, he says he supports his fellow union though, but the striking thing was a bit. You pulled a Bob Iger there, brother. So, and it also kind of makes me wonder, what the comic creators behind Green Arrow, okay, would say, Dick Dillon, Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil, the people who revamped Green Arrow would say, or Fran Drescher, like what would they like come on, dude, like really? And yeah, so that's pretty much my take. It's a short video. I mean, I'm kind of yeah, this is a short video, so I mean, I just woke up, so but I mean, I just wanted to give you my take on the whole thing, and that just to be honest with you, all of you constant listeners, I'm in no way condemning or judging Stephen Amell. Like I said, a lot of times we have moments where we put our foots in our mouths, so but in the end of the day, we're human, though. But you know, again, I feel like his fame, Stephen Amell's fame, and his privilege. Okay, I'm gonna use that word, privilege. That holds a lot of weight. When you say certain things, like that fame and privilege, really amplifies that, and you really need to be careful with what you say. And also too, I think there was a within the soundbite he said like not everyone knows about the strikes. I mean, which is not everyone at the convention though. But come on, dude, don't you think these people read social media? Or if they don't even read an article, at least they look at their social media and they probably see something on SAG-AFTRA or the strikes and all that. Be better, man. But that's my piece. So thank you all, constant listeners, for listening and for viewing. I'm going to be doing more videos of comic related news or popular culture cosplay related news. And again, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at BrianAvert16, and on Instagram, BrianAvert16, and Daily Planet at Daily Planet DC, and the podcast too at Earth16 Geek Talk, or Earth16 Podcast on Twitter, and Earth16 Geek Talk on Instagram. Thank you so much, and stay ever so awesome. This is Brian Ford 16 signing out.